Hi everyone, Claudia here from Lighting Clarity. This week's Spirit Talk is a bit of an eclectic talk, and I've also pulled 3 cards for you. So I'm just answering again some of the questions that some of you sent in that I could comment on, and some of them, as I said, fall into a Wednesday Spirit Talk category. So the dear person that wrote this says, are there times of day and month or places on the planet that will attract angels better, facilitate angelic communication? My experience, I'm going to be honest, I don't go in for astrology and all of that, moon and the stars. I'm going to be honest, I call them in and they come in. Especially when you're needing that help, especially when you're needing that reassurance, especially when you're asking for a sign as to whether to go with this decision or whether to go with that decision. They will come in and bring signs into your outside world. Someone else also said that, how do you know which is the right decision? I would call in the archangels for that and say, can you lead me to what the right decision is here between these two? Can you show me the differences? And then I look for those signs in my outside world, as well as feeling into my intuition with what feels right. Also doing my research as well will often give you the answers, but you certainly can say, can you show me? And as I've said many times before, I found those answers in the outside world. When it's come to something situational, I needed to make a decision on whether there was an angel statue, whether there was something else that was there. I can't remember now, but yeah, that gave me that indication. They also do step back, the angels, to give you that space to make your own decisions because we have free will. This is our lifetime. They're never going to make the decision for us. That is up to us to do that because we chose to come here to have that experience. As it comes to when to connect with the archangels, for me, it's any time of day. For me, it is anywhere on the planet as well. They do say there's certain parts on the planet where you can better feel the archangels. I don't go in for that. That's just not the world in which I live in. And other people may rebut me on that, but that's my experience. I feel them at any time of day, especially when I call them in to channel them and I'm needing that help. That conversation is there and that energy is there and that support is there as I ask for it. Because I said we've got free will, you need to ask for that help to do with that particular life area and they will assist. So, do the angels work with the ancestors who are guiding us? That's a very good question. Being here on the ground with you guys, I actually don't know. I know there's different realms in the heavens, and when we pass, we choose to congregate on the realm that we feel most comfortable with. So some people will congregate perhaps with the angels on their angelic realm just to go and receive learning skills, go and to go and do their learning, their whatever it is they're doing, their classes. They will go there and they will commune with the angels, as well as if there is assistance needed, I imagine they will call on the angels. That will go and speak to people who are classed as spirit guides who are doing their learning in the spirit guide center there on the realm in the heavenly realms. I go up there numerous times when I sleep, including in when I'm channeling for myself. I do that, and they can go and receive. There are many resource centers in the heavens where we all, in our dream state, and all of us who live up in the heavens, because we've moved on from the lifetime we're in, we've left earth or whatever realm we lived on, and we've returned home, there is many learning to be done. So we do ask for that assistance. We do commune with spirit, that are spirit guides, that are archangels, that are masters, and that go beyond that, that all beings of light that have no body, that have never incarnated. And I imagine directly with God. As well. And all of that is, it is hard for us to comprehend here on earth because we're very practical, we're very scientific in different ways. We're very, if you can see it, it exists. If you can't see it, it doesn't necessarily exist. That's for some people. That's not for everybody. However, that's really my answer to that. Is there a connection between the Holy Spirit and water? Look, you know what? I don't know. I would say I always bless my water before I drink it, and I bless my food as well. If the person that blesses the water has a rather large spiritual cord that leads them up to God, the larger the spiritual cord that comes out through the crown that can link us to God, which we all have, the thicker it is, the more spiritual, how do I say, more miracles or the more healing energy that comes through you of a higher vibration that will go into the water, yes. From that point of view, I will answer you yes. Don't know if that was exactly your question, but that's what I will answer. Okay. So some of the other stories, well, something else I thought we'd talk about, which I think is a bit fun, is ghost stories. So have you all seen a ghost? Has anyone seen a ghost? You might want to put that in the comments. I'm going to make it very clear. Doesn't sit well with me when people say they're going, for their birthday on a ghost tour. Do you all think you're going to the zoo? Where do you all think you're going? That's what I want to say to them. These are people who are trapped between worlds. These are people who are sometimes reliving how they passed because they haven't realized they've passed, or they're just existing and not realizing they've passed. They're quite traumatized. They haven't gone to the light. I don't know why they haven't seen the light. I don't know why they haven't gone to the light. That's not an answer I have. And there are others that have chosen not to go to the light and they've seen it. They choose to remain on earth because they like earthly things like alcohol, drugs, their homes. Have chosen not to leave earth because they're so attached to it. And I'll be honest, some of them are nasty pasties. They were nasty pasties when they lived here, and they're nasty pasties also after they've passed. When we pass, we don't have a big change of personality. We certainly, when we go up to the heavens, have a big bird's eye view of how we've made everybody feel, how we have felt, what life is like. And from that point of view, you do change. Your personality changes. However, if you were a talker here on earth, you'll be a talker up in the heavens. That's always been my experience when I've done mediumship. If you're quiet here on earth, you'll be quiet in the heavens, yeah? Until you move on to your next lifetime and you choose a different personality. I myself have never seen a ghost or a spirit. I don't like the word ghost. Seeing someone in spirit who has passed. I have not seen them up close, no. But I have felt them standing next to me and I've heard them speak to me regarding a client or regarding myself. It's a grandparent. I had my grandparents. I lived in Western Australia for 6 years and my grandparents, both sets of them, surrounded me constantly and my children. And I would sit on the couch. My grandmother would come in and she'd sit next to me and I'd stop reading. I'd say, hello, give her a big smile. How you going? And then I would smile. So I'm going to keep reading my book and she'd nod her head and I keep reading. There were times I felt absolutely afraid because I was alone at night with the kids one night and they were very little. And whoosh, both sets of grandparents came rushing in because my husband was away for work and they said, what's wrong? So I'm hearing a noise and they said, oh, we don't believe it's anything. And I said, well, I don't. And I said to both my grandfathers, oh, you go and find out, go and walk around the property, find out and come back. They disappeared for a good 2 minutes, my grandfathers, while my grandmothers, one sat with me, one stood next to me. And I waited and then my grandfathers came back in. They said, it's just a cat. And I said, really? And then I heard meow. I went, good, well done to both of them. Thank you. They were always there. So I could feel them, even feel my grandfather while I was cooking and saying, what are you making? And I come from an Italian family and I was making an Indian dish. And I said, well, it's an Indian dish. It's called a curry. It comes from India. And he screwed up his face. Obviously they can smell. Because he's like, could smell. He's like, no. I said, well, you're not invited to dinner, so don't worry about it. I was laughing. And other times I'd be cooking something for the kids and my grandmother would not approve of what I've made, perhaps burgers or something. What are you feeding them? I'm like, oh, seriously, can I get a break? Look, it's all right, just burgers for tonight. Tomorrow night I'll cook something better. Just burgers for tonight. Husband's away, I'm just going to do that, make it easier on myself. So everyone's got an opinion. It doesn't matter they've passed, they've all still got an opinion. So when people say to me, oh, my grandmother's suggesting I marry blah instead of blah, I heard it through a psychic, I would say you need to make your own decision. Your grandmother is still going to have her own biased opinion because she still comes from the lifetime she just lived. And that's her opinion. Yes, she's got an overall bird's eye view, but at the end of the day, this needs to be your opinion. This needs to be your decision. And that's that. With all respect, I say that. Okay, with all respect, I say that. I still listen to my grandparents if there's a warning. They know I will listen and I'll take it on board and I'll go do my research. Absolutely. Anyway, so they're my stories. And I could go on about people, relatives who have passed, who came up to me during the night. And I go, oh, you've passed. Okay. And then I get a phone call in the morning, such and such has passed. I said, yes, I know. They came to me during the night. I could go on. There are stories that people that I know who actually have seen someone who's passed in spirit that they didn't know, standing right next to them, appearing years and years ago. I had a mediumship teacher, and she was doing the dishes, and she told us in circle, and she said, I asked, have you ever seen anyone? She said, yes, I did. She said, I was doing the dishes in the kitchen, and this man appeared standing directly next to me. She dropped the dishes, and she was a mediumship teacher, and she said, what do you want? Because she recognised him. And he said, I passed away a couple of months back, and I want you to go and speak to my girlfriend. He gave his home address. He says, and I want you to tell her this, this, and this. And my mediumship teacher looked at him and said, no, I'm not going to do that. She hasn't come to me for a reading. The last thing I'm going to go do is go knock on her door and tell her your message. I'm sorry. If she comes for a reading, I will pass it on. If not, this isn't happening, and you're going to leave my kitchen and my home now. It was quite a typical moment. Oh, okay. And she said he turned around and he walked through the wall and disappeared. She went and sat down for a moment. She was quite surprised, to say the least. Another story that I can tell you happened many years ago. It's probably about 19, and there was a lady that was down the road that my brother, who was also studying, but he was doing some cleaning work for her part-time. You're studying and you do some cleaning work or whatever it is you do. And he was doing, I think, office work for her too, and cleaning work as she wanted it. She owned, showing my age, she owned a typing business downstairs where she typed up people's resumes and personal letters or whatever else. And she lived above the shop. And she was an older lady at that point. She would have passed now, but she came from quite well-to-do parents. She was a very well-to-do lady in how she carried herself and spoke. And my brother came home and relayed a story to my mother and I. And he said that day that he went up to, she wanted him to come do some cleaning in her apartment. He says, yeah, no worries. So he turns up, and she says, oh, I must tell you, she says to him, the other night, and she says, I was, upstairs, and it was evening, and she says, and this lady appeared in my lounge room. She said it was a spirit, and she did have all her faculties. She was a nice, normal lady, but she was so funny. And my brother went, oh. And she said she appeared in the lounge room, and she said, you mustn't scare them. You must go up and ask if they're all right. Well, the rest of us would run out of the lounge room, waving our hands above our heads, screaming. She didn't. Good girl. She got up, she walked over to her. As I said, she's quite a well-to-do lady. She was very posh as well in how she spoke. She went up to him. She said, I said to her, Madam, are you all right? Are you needing some direction? Some assistance, perhaps? And then the lady popped off and disappeared before her very eyes. She walked right up to her. I probably wouldn't be as brazen. I would definitely be calm and say, are you okay? Or you need to exit my home if I don't have a good feeling you're going out. But my brother, and I was crying with laughter because after she relayed that story, he had to go upstairs and clean. He'd been up numerous times. But oh goodness, she was a cart. She was a lovely lady. Any other stories that I can think of? No. Let's pull these cards. I've already pulled them. So I'd like you to feel into which card has a message for you. Then I have Archangel Gabriel and Archangel Michael coming in as I sit here. Thank you. So is it card 1, card 2, or card 3? Without further ado, those of you who picked card 1, we have embracing enthusiasm, shout to the heavens with happiness. So look at this. There is a transformation of some sort that's going to come in. A new way of living, a new way of thinking. There is something that's going to come in. You're going to celebrate and you're going to be quite happy about. And it's a door that will open that you have been waiting for a while. And all of a sudden it's going to open for you. And there are different types of size doors here for each of you. Some big ones, some medium size, some smaller. Wherever this is going to be, whatever size door, this is going to be transformational for you. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, thank you. And for those of you who chose card 2, Voyage of the heart. Love flows through you and to you. That's a beautiful card. Look at that. So I'm also feeling a shift with you. Some of you perhaps have been feeling a bit flat, a bit foggy. Take your time because you're moving out of that. You're sailing out of that fog, coming into more of the energy of clarity and joy. There is a healing of some sort that's going to come in as well on an emotional level. Either something you've come full circle about or something's been resolved. It's like there's healing coming into the heart center. For some of you, I do feel there is natural healing coming through. So just embrace the changes that this will bring, because it is going to shift the energy signature around you. Just breathing into that. How beautiful is that? Much to be hopeful for, I'm also getting as I look at the card. Okay, beautiful. And for those of you who chose card 3, stepping into your power, you are strong beyond measure. Look at that. So I am getting, make sure you stay grounded as you move forward. Some of you are trekking towards something. Some of you are walking towards something. You're putting your steps in place. You'll be walking for a while, but you know that you're going to get there. I'm also getting that. And they're saying this is going to be worth the journey because you are going to uncover some new treasures, some new opportunities. There's definitely a change coming in and you know it and you're walking towards it. Some of you have already made a substantial decision of some sort. Others of you will come towards that as you continue putting your steps in place and walking towards what you want. Don't stop and don't give up. You've got this. Trust your intuitions. A lot of you are coming more and more into your strengths. You are aware of this already, they're saying. Beautiful. Take your time. Okay, lovely. Lovely. All right, a bit of an eclectic talk today. If you want to place anything in the comments, a quick story. Yes, I've seen a ghost. No, I haven't. Spirit. Someone, poor person who's passed in spirit. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Don't do any ghost tours. I don't find them entertaining. If you do, go for it. But sometimes what occurs is they can follow you home, especially the ones that want to play havoc. And I think I relayed a story years ago when I was sitting at a coffee table with a friend. There was a guy sitting, at the table over there. I thought he was actually sitting there. When I looked in his direction, he wasn't there. When I looked back at my friend, he was there. He was laughing at me as he was drinking his coffee. He wasn't there for me. He was there because he wanted to be amongst people. That's fine. But he was smirking because he knew I could see him, and it was distracting me. So I was determined to shut him out. And I was sitting with a friend who was a clairvoyant. She looked, she couldn't say. And that's fine. And not that they followed me home. I've had an instance where I was followed home and he kept kissing me and I had to move him out, and I called him Michael and I called in a friend who is a psychic as well, clairvoyant healer, and I said, can you help shift him because he won't leave me? And then when they took him, he left kicking and screaming. I felt so sorry, but I said, he was about 26, and I said, you cannot stay with me. I am not your new girlfriend. You know you've passed. He needed to go. Big muscly fellow too. Must have followed me home from the supermarket. Anyway, so if you're going a ghost tour, protection, 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 protection. I can't say that enough. Okay. The other thing is you have families that when you come home to, they're coming home to as well if anyone follows you back. I think I relayed the story years ago that here in Melbourne, we have Pentridge. That was a prison that was, open since the beginning of, I don't know when Australia was discovered, we'll put it that way, 1800s. They closed it down some 30 years ago, 25 years ago, 20 years ago. Well, they decided to open it up and let it be a tourist attraction for people. And I mean, you're kidding? And I knew someone who was a tour guide, and she said after a while she felt sick and she stopped doing it within weeks. Not a good place to go into. And now they're building apartments there, I think. Something stupid like that. I wouldn't be buying any of them. But there's certain clearing that you can do. So you can buy those apartments, really clearing the energy out so you make it your own. Definitely. But anyway, each to their own, and that's perfectly fine. Many blessings. Hope this has been interesting, a bit entertaining. I'll see you all again soon. Thanks, everyone.